Joining us now to discuss that upcoming election is Marc Lotter, the Director of Strategic Communications for the 2020 Trump campaign. Marc, when we look at polling right now, I know it's something that a lot of people look back at 2016 and say how wrong it was then, but even right now, we're still 6 months out, and when we talk about the unrest in the country, a couple of weeks ago, we thought coronavirus was going to be the big story. We don't exactly know what the big story will be come November. Do you put much weight into polling right now?
No, absolutely not. In fact, I often say that these polls are about as informative as polling vegetarians about their favorite cut of steak. It's not at all, because there are so many things that will change between now and then. And also with a lot of these mainstream media polls, they're actually engineering the polls to have an anti-Trump bias, including one that was out today by CNN that underpolled Republicans by 8 percentage points, overpolled African Americans, and it was designed and it was structured to get an anti-Trump result.
And when we look at some of these, I would call them bigger name, former old guard Republicans, if you will, that are coming out against President Trump. We have General Colin Powell, who hasn't voted Republican for, I think it's 16 years, something like that. I'm still not over the WMD thing, but whatever. I won't bring that into the equation either. But when we talk about Mitt Romney and other people, too, who are also against President Trump, does that mean anything right now? Is acknowledging the fact, for example, that the president has around a 90% approval rating from within the party?
Well, the president does have historically high approval in the party. And the one thing I would say to these never Trump Republicans is what is it about Joe Biden that you now support? Higher taxes, taxpayer-funded abortion up until the moment of birth, more government regulation, gutting our military, anti-Israel. All of these things is what Joe Biden stands for. And so if you're a former Republican who now supports Joe Biden, I've got to question whether you ever supported any Republican or conservative ideas, because these are the pillars of what we've stood for since the days of Ronald Reagan.
In fact, I'm glad you bring that up, because it reminds me of something that the Lincoln Project, a group of never Trump Republicans, recently said. They responded to President Trump on Twitter saying that Barack Obama built this economy, President Trump destroyed it, and Joe Biden will bring it back. And then you go back and you see what these people were saying under the Obama administration, and they were talking about how terrible the economy is. I think it's a lot of people that are trying to stay relevant in any way they can, because if President Trump eventually comes out of office, whether it's 2020 or 2024, these people will be out of a job. MSNBC doesn't want to hear from them after that. But when we talk about the transition of the Republican Party, too, over the past couple of, I would say, months, they've taken steps to reach out to black voters. The First Step Act was something that, regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, was a very good thing for a lot of incarcerated minorities. And then Joe Biden has a very different record when it comes to that. Is that something the Trump campaign will look to utilize?
Oh, absolutely. And it's a message I think that it will resonate very strongly in the black community. But then also you can go back and look at how wrong Joe Biden has been on China. And as we confront China to bring manufacturing back, or because of the coronavirus, you have Joe Biden out there who says they're not a threat, who believes a strong China is good for American workers. There are specific messages, I think, that will resonate with various parts of the American populace. And Joe Biden is wrong on just about each and every thing. And that's in the next 6 months what our campaign will be doing. We'll make sure the American people know the truth, that Joe Biden is no moderate. There's a reason why Bob Gates, who was the defense secretary under Obama, said that who said Joe Biden's been wrong on nearly every major thing in the last 40 years. It's because he is.
And when it comes to Joe Biden, too, I think it's interesting that all these polls are having him go up when we see less and less of Joe Biden. I think that's something that I would be a little bit worried about if I was a member of the Biden campaign. So from the Trump campaign perspective, when we eventually get to debates, the one-on-one situation between Biden and Trump, do you want as many debates as possible in order to really make that case? Or do you think that the Biden campaign will try to maybe suppress them a little bit more like they're doing right now to the candidate himself?
Well, I think we'll let debates take care of themselves in the fall. But obviously what we've seen already is that they're hiding Joe Biden in his basement. And when they do let him out, I mean, this is a man that can't remember what year 9/11 took place or how many grandkids he has. So if he thinks he can take the debate stage with Donald Trump, he's got another thing coming to him. But the other thing I will point out is that as we move forward and as these debates take place, let's remember what just happened on Friday. You had the so-called experts miss the economic forecast by 10 million jobs. We didn't lose jobs. We're adding jobs. America is coming back, and they're going to credit Donald Trump with that, not Biden, who's cowering and afraid down in his basement.
No, I mean, it's a cliche, but at the end of the day, the American people really do care about those dinner table type of conversations, what makes them safe and what puts money in their wallet. And if we're able to climb out of this recession that we're in right now, I think that's going to go a long way for the president who campaigned on a promise in 2016 and going into 2020 showing results. That'll be hard to beat for the Biden campaign. But Mark,
He built it once, he can build it again.
that's what he's saying himself, and he needs to get that message out to the voters if he wants to be successful. Mark, I appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you.
Absolutely good to talk to you.